I think I should preface this video by saying that I won't be delving into any of the controversies currently surrounding this game, including the inclusion of Yasuke in addition to general historical accuracy, because I'm honestly too ignorant to speak on the topic. In this video, I just want to discuss what we've seen so far of the game, what Ubisoft has done with the series recently, and whether all of us should even be excited for the game. It's very easy to jump on a hype train for a highly anticipated game, and I'm definitely someone who does get dragged into that hype train for particular games. But with the recent direction of the series and a split in the fan base with the RPG games and the older style games, it's hard to say conclusively whether we as the community should be collectively excited for this game. Of course, it goes without saying that we all want this game to be great, to relive some of the glory days of the franchise that seemingly went so long ago. But it's not a guarantee that those days will ever return, and the peak of the series may have gone long ago. We've gone through many developments before the game was properly revealed to us, and we were all calling it Assassin's Creed Codename Red or whatever, and that was back in 2022. This game has the longest development cycle of any Assassin's Creed game ever in the entire franchise's history, so I think expectations really couldn't be higher from that perspective. I think I want to discuss this topic from two different approaches. Firstly, the story and then the gameplay. In terms of the story of Assassin's Creed Shadows, we haven't exactly seen much, only really what was shown in the initial cinematic reveal trailer, which was a few minutes long. The trailer confirmed many prior suspicions that had been circulating the community for many months now, in that there would be two playable protagonists in the game, and they would be completely different from one another. We have Yasuke, who is a real individual, and in the game he's going to be a samurai, of which we will discuss the implication of later, and our second protagonist is Naoe. She's pretty much the opposite of Yasuke in that she's a stealthy female shinobi, and is where we'll be getting that stealthy itch opposed to Yasuke, who seems to be more of that brute style of gameplay we saw in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. Of course, the game's obviously set in Japan, more specifically in feudal Japan. This is probably the most requested setting for an Assassin's Creed game ever since the series' very inception, and after almost 17 years we're finally going to that era. Whether it's too late for that is a whole nother discussion in itself. From the very basic things we've seen in the few trailers that Ubisoft has given us thus far, Naoe is a farmer warrior who takes on the role of protector as she works to defend her province of Iga. Her story genuinely looks pretty interesting, and it's going to revolve around some of the core ideas of the series as a whole, in political upheaval, invasion, and the fight for absolute survival against insurmountable odds. And again, this story couldn't be more different than Yasuke of the Oda clan, who works as a samurai for the clan. I am very much interested in seeing what Ubisoft is going to write up here, and I genuinely think they have a chance to make the best story ever seen in an Assassin's Creed game. Of course, a lot of this will depend on how much Ubisoft utilizes the two protagonists and their contrasting battles and ideals, and how the characters themselves are expected to interact within the confines of the overall narrative. What the overall narrative will be in this game is still a matter of question, and I'm still stoked yet skeptical to see how Ubisoft will be able to intermingle both of these protagonists and still make a compelling story that develops both of them to a great degree, while also moving along an overarching plot. I don't think that there's much to say until they really show us more of the story component of the game, but I am excited to see what comes from the story, and if Ubisoft can finally deliver us a great Assassin's Creed story that doesn't completely forget what came before it. And God, I hope that the modern day plot doesn't absolutely suck like it has in the RPG games. I won't stand here and say that it's ever been that good, and I don't think most of us really care about that modern day plot, but just make it a little bit more interesting. Anyway, with that, I think it's time we talk about what we've been shown extensively, and that's the game's gameplay. I think Ubisoft is quite aware of the divide in the community with the old stealth focused fans and the new RPG fans, and I think the purpose of the two protagonists really reflects that in whole. But before that, I think we should talk about the game's open world just for a brief moment. We already know it's going to look absolutely stunning, as many of Ubisoft's open worlds do, even if they have such large faults in them overall. They're great at making these beautiful worlds, and I can't wait to see how they develop the beautiful setting of feudal Japan. The game's map size is apparently that of Origins, which is honestly a great move, as Odyssey's map can feel too massive, as well as Valhalla, and so I think an Origins size map with a greater level of mountain scale will make feudal Japan truly come to life. This of course creates many opportunities for some unique traversal due to Naoe's grappling hook, which we've also been shown, and that should really accelerate the overall parkour and traversal around the open world of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Of course, the overall combat of this game is going to be comprised of two completely different gameplay styles due to the contrasting natures of Yasuke and Naoe. On one hand, with Yasuke, we've got more of that Valhalla sort of combat system, with heavy attack style combat focused on that samurai fantasy above all else. From what we've been seeing so far, Yasuke wields a baseball bat-like kanabo, which was the weapon of the Oni in Japanese folklore, which is going to be extremely slow yet devastating to enemies. But he's also got the katana, which will allow him to deliver some of those more rapid hack and slash sort of melee attacks instead of the devastating blows of the kanabo weapon. So from that perspective, it doesn't seem like Yasuke is going to be the choice for stealth oriented players. I think the whole idea of the two protagonists representing two different sides of the spectrum in terms of combat and traversal is really a great move by Ubisoft, which will allow us not only to experience the old style combat system in the more methodical and stealthier combat opportunities, but I personally do enjoy the RPG style of combat even for all of its faults. So that's going to be fun to play with as Yasuke. Yasuke makes a big impression in the gameplay trailer of the game, and I really hope that he feels distinct enough from Eivor and the other RPG protagonists, because just like Eivor, he seems a lot slower in his attacks but deals a lot more damage. Yasuke seems to be a much more brutal character to play as, and I really hope the killing and finishing animations support that, as you'll be fighting multiple enemies at once due to his sheer height and size advantage that will make playing as him feel very weighted. On the other hand, Naoe's gameplay seems to be wildly different to Yasuke, as she favors the quick and quiet approach with the help of the hidden blade, which I feel is an anomaly in the series nowadays. But that's not what seems to make Naoe so unique in this department, as sure, it's going to be great to play as an actual assassin again, with assassin focused tools such as smoke bombs and poison darts, but it's really Naoe's grappling hook, which not only changes the game of her traversal, but also how the stealth in general is going to work. With the help of the grappling hook, she'll be able to traverse across large gaps of area, which will not only add a huge level of verticality to Assassin's Creed Shadows, and surely much more than other games in the series, but the lighter and fluid nature of her gameplay will make switching between the two protagonists feel like playing two completely different games. Playing as someone who is literally hiding in the shadows and picking her time to strike will be heavily contrasted to the more brutal and heavy focused approach of Yasuke's gameplay. We've also been shown how she can go underwater to sneak behind enemies, and she generally just seems much more acrobatic than other assassins in the series from the gameplay that we've been shown so far, which should really make this assassin experience feel extremely fluid and enjoyable in every way. I really do hope that the stealth of the series returns in full form in this game, and I honestly do have high hopes for this game, especially due to the fact that it's been in development for over 4 years now. Now for the question of whether you should be excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows, that's a hard one. On one hand, there are some reasons to be excited for the game, such as the setting, the two different gameplay styles, and the very long development cycle. But if we go based on the sort of promises we got with Assassin's Creed Valhalla and what that and its DLCs turned out to be, it got me into a stage of cautiously optimistic. So that's where I think you should be at as well, being cautiously optimistic while remaining skeptical and not, no matter what, pre-ordering this game quite yet. Anyway, that's all from me for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.